Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I am here. We are we. What up, everybody? It's your girl Sherry's Joy, and welcome to another episode of Bookmarked. This week, I read The Great Divide by Cristina Henriquez. Wonderful, beautiful story. Very heartfelt. Very, very heartfelt. I read it and I read most of it, and well, I read all of it, but for some of it, I actually listened along through the audiobook, and the audiobook is narrated by Robin Miles, and she did a wonderful, beautiful job with the narration or with the reading and I usually say acting of this book. So The Great Divide. Have you read this book? Let me know if you've read this book in the comments. Are you interested in reading this book? Listen to my review and find out. Okay, so The Great Divide is a historical fiction. The book is about 300 and some odd pages. It takes place in Panama. And it is the background story is the building of the Panama Canal. Now, I know what the Panama Canal is, but I didn't know like the complete history of it. You know, I think we learn about it in school, but it's like, you know, I've been out of middle school for like decades now. So it's like, I don't know. So the Panama Canal, for those who don't know, or if you are interested, and if you already know, anyways, the Panama Canal is a shortcut between the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. What I found interesting, fun fact, is that the French started to build the canal in 1881, and they actually abandoned or stopped working on that because of the financing and the mechanical financing of it was too much. So they kind of like left it. And I've never been to Panama, but I mean, obviously it's tropical and it rains a lot down there and the ground gets wet and dirt and everything like that. So they basically had to cut through these mountains, right? And they had to make a divide, just a canal. It's a narrow canal. You can look it up. I looked it up. It was really cool. A narrow canal and for the ships to go through. So in 1904, good old America took over the project and completed it. They worked on it from 1904 to 1914. Military, they did send the military, there to work on it and everything. And from what I understand, the military is still, well, don't even worry about that because it's about the book. So those are just really fun facts that I found very interesting. This book is about love. It's a love story, multiple love stories. Aww. So we have Ada and we have Omar. Okay, it's Ada and Omar, and the stories are kind of it's based off of them, but then we learn about like their lineage and how they became Ada and Omar. So Ada is from Barbados. She's, a young lady from Barbados, and her name is Lucille, and she has a sister named Millicent. And Millicent is very, very ill. She had pneumonia and she's got fluid in her lungs. And the doctors are telling her telling her mother that, she needs an operation to get the fluid out of her lungs. So Ada becomes a stowaway on a ship to go to Panama so that she can work in that area in the canal or whatever, so that she can earn money for her sister's operation, because they are saying that there's lots of money to be had and to be found in Panama for this particular project. So she stows away. She packs up some money, she packs up some fruit and stuff like that for her voyage, stows away on a ship, and she gets to Panama, and it's kind of not what she was expecting. I mean, she did prepare herself by wearing boots You know, she's got these boots that she puts on and everything because it's, you know, just tropics and wetness and all that, and it's the rain season. So she gets there and she kind of doesn't really know where to go. And, you know, so she actually ends up, I don't want to do any spoilers. So she's there. Okay. She makes it. And then Omar, we meet Omar a little bit later. When we learn about Omar, we learn about his dad first. His dad is Francisco and he's a fisherman, and they are from Panama, and but not near where the canal is. So the Panamanians are protesting. They have this, you know, they're protesting the canal because they're coming in and they're taking like the villages and the little towns and they're wiping them off, or, you know, they're not even buying the land. They're pushing the people out so that they can bring in, you know, these people, the workers and stuff, and set up these camps, these work camps. And the work camps are kind of like based off of some of it is based off of your nationality. Some of it is based off of like your financial status. I mean, honestly, in this book, what I'm gathering is that the higher upper class are the Americans and the lower class is like everybody else. But there's a divide here. And we learn about that in chapter 16. And well, we learn about it, but it really comes into play in chapter 16. There's a divide. They call it gold and silver. The silver is not supposed to cross into the gold. The gold does not mingle with the silver. The gold section is over here. The single section is over here. Let's keep in mind the canal was built between 1904 and 1914. You get what I'm saying? So yeah. So there are towns, like Terry towns, that they set up with nicer area and houses. And then there's like tents and basically things for the bottom tier workers or the other workers to live in. So we meet John and his wife, Marion. And John and Marion are from Tennessee, and they are married. They are a married couple from Tennessee. They kind of got married, kind of like, this doesn't matter in the book at all. They have a relationship where they're just kind of like married. You know, they might have been in love at one point, but at this point it's just like routine marriage. And John is an overseer of the operation, or foreman. I guess you would call him a foreman today. I'm not really sure what you would call him back then, but he basically oversaw the work. You know, he was in charge. You know, he was standing up high, watching the work, yelling down at the workers, right? Making all the commands. And he was in charge of people's pay and things like that. He was like the boss. So they bring him in and, you know, they put him in a house and everything like that, but he's also obsessed with like mosquito research. So he's done a lot of research on like, yellow fever, malaria, things like that, mosquitoes and stuff. And so he tells his wife, you know, don't go outside. It's the raining season, it's constantly raining. And with the heat and everything, the mosquitoes are horrible. And so she's like stuck, like, well, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do? He's like, just, you know, twiddle your thumbs and be a woman type of thing. It's like wrong. But so she goes and she ventures out, and then what happens? She catches a cold. She catches pneumonia. So Ada actually ends up being Marion's, not housemaid, not like nurse, but kind of like a sitter. You know, she sits with her, gets her what she needs and stuff like that. She's basically like an adult babysitter for Marion while she's ill. And we learn a lot about Marion, and she talks about her past life and how her and John came to be and how she's feeling and things like that. And they build like this bond in this relationship, which is beautiful. So there's that. And then, you know, we learn about John and his background with ridiculousness. We kind of learn about the truth about him, his true colors, where he talks about in the past, he was at a bar. This was somewhere, right? He's at a bar, and there's an incident, a racial incident, and he's like it's bad. So, we learn about his true colors there. I don't want to give any spoils. But then, there are people who do stick up for rights. There's chapter 16 where it talks more about the gold side and the silver side. Ada, she has to go to the store to get Marion some medicine. And so she goes to the store and she crosses into the gold side. And there's this lady, and this is one of those chapters that I did the audio to. This is awesome. I love it. One of my favorite chapters. There's this woman in the store, and Ada is like, well, I can't find it. So she goes to her silver. She goes to her, I can't remember which side is which. She does just say she goes to the gold side, the side that she's supposed to shop at, and she can't find what she's looking for. She needs like this medicine, this cure-all medicine. So of course it's not going to be in like the side where where the bottom tier people are. So she crosses into the silver side because, she's buying the medicine for a silver person who's of note. And so she goes into the store, and the clerk they made it a point Ms. Henriquez made it a point to say that the clerk is like blonde hair, blue eyed, and she looks at Ada and then keeps, talking to her customer. And then there's this lady in here. You can't be in here. You can't be over here. Gold side, gold side. And I'm like, and that's how, I'm not kidding. That's exactly how the narrator, Miss Robin, did this. She's like, good side. And Ada's like, okay, well, I'm just like shopping here. So she looks at the clerk, and the clerk just is like, whatever. And Ada was like, well, I need to buy this medicine for, Miss Oswald, and she's very sick and she needs this medicine, and I can't find it over on this side. So the clerk is like, go check aisle 5 on the bottom shelf. No, good side. You can't be here. You can't be here. Right. It was just back and forth. And Ada's like, whatever. So Ada's ignoring it. The clerk ignores everything. And then I think when the lady like needed some help, she's like, I can't believe you did this type of thing. And the clerk was like, well, she's gone. Like, do you want me to help you or what type of thing? It was great. I was like, yes. So, I mean, this book was written earlier this year. It was published earlier this year. So you're in like a whole nother country, you're on a whole nother continent, and you bring in this racial tension, to this whole other country where the people from Panama were actually saying like everything was fine before the Americans got there and brought, their divide and their this gold side and silver side. Everything was fine. People were getting along. There were no problems. You could shop where you wanted and stuff like that in the book. Now, this is historical fiction. I'm saying historical fiction. So, yeah. So I was like, message. So I thought that was pretty good. I absolutely loved that part. That was one of my favorite chapters, along with the love stories that are being mixed in. Now, what I found that got annoying about the book, it is a slow burn. I really perked up, when I was like literally 50% in, because it is a slow burn, right? Between all the different characters and trying to remember who's in what family and who we're talking about here and all this other stuff. I think I was like 30% in, and that's when I realized that like Marion Oswald is the Marion and John from Tennessee but I didn't really realize that until I listened to the audio. And the audio really helps me. The narrator really helps me because she puts on these like different accents and stuff like that. So it really deciphers between the people. And that really helps me when it is a book where there's so many different characters. I find that extremely helpful. Which is, I'm starting to really enjoy audiobooks. I know at the very beginning when I started listening to audiobooks, I was like, audiobooks, blah, they put me to sleep. But no, I'm actually starting to enjoy them. So cat. Slow burn. And what I didn't like about the book, one of the things is like when something is being explained, like when Marion goes to explore, she goes to the local shop, the commissary, and I promise you, it was like a whole page of a list of what is in the commissary. They had, I don't know, potatoes, green beans, green peas, TVs, VCRs, Accent, Splenda, Stevia, Domino sugar, Tetley tea, aluminum foil, 647 bread. I mean, obviously not those things. This is 1900, early 1900s. Come on. But I mean, I'm just saying the list was going, it was so long. It was like a page long. Just and I had to like skip. I was like skipping over some of the stuff, like skimming over some of the stuff. And then it was like, and she didn't need any of it. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe say like, I'm not the author and I'm not downsizing the author at all. As the reader, you know, I'm like, you know, keep my attention here. Like, I don't need to know the literal 100 things that are in the store. Like, I get the picture. And that kept happening too. There were other incidents, you know, where other things were being said, and it was just like, and it was like, we don't need all of that. I don't. So that's just one of the things that I did not particularly care for or did not, you know, like about the book. And if that's not even like that big of a deal, you know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, just the layers and layers of characters and like figuring this out and figuring that out and finding this. And then we're in 1904 and then we're in 18 whatever. And then we're back in like 1900 and then we're back down to like 1879 type of thing. I mean, not literally, but I'm just saying like that's how all over it was. So that was a little hard to keep up with at first. But once it got my attention, man, that 50% mark, boom, I was reading it and just reading it and reading it and reading it. And if there was any book that was going to make me cry, it's very hard for me to cry at the end of a book or at a book in general. I don't think I have shed a literal tear yet. However, this book pulled very hard at my heartstrings. Those love stories, just the loss, the happiness, just the yanking and pulling at the heartstrings was really, really good. The writing overall was beautiful. I was, you know, I saw everything. And I actually read this book in the middle of last week. And here it rained a lot last week. And so I could feel the dampness, and I could, you know, 'cause hearing the rain outside, seeing it literally out my window, reading it in the pages and hearing it in the audio as well. I could, in the description, I was like really there. I was chilly. I was, you know, like, ooh, you know, and then like the mosquitoes and everything like that, like the scents and the smells. She talks about this. There's one, she mentions this apple. I think it's a mame apple. I've never heard of that kind of apple, but the way that it's described, the juices and the biting of it, it's just like I bit into an apple and the juices went around my teeth and just went into my mouth. Like I could feel and taste that apple. Like it was that descriptive. It was brilliant. I loved it. It was wonderful. Would I read another book from this author? Absolutely. I have one on my list right now. Got a long TBR list, but it's on there. I give this book, I hate to do it, but I did give this book a 4. And that is only because of the slow burn. I'm more of a I had you at hello person. I you know, ooh, I need to be, but because this was a drama and a historical fiction, I stuck with it. because I mean, I've never read a book about like that took place in Brazil or South America rather. So I found it was good. It was interesting. And, you know, the Panama Canal, I do have a couple of friends, shout out, that are from Panama. And it was just interesting. It was interesting. And I do recommend this book. I do. I really do. I forgot to mention this one other part that pulled at my heartstrings as well. There is a character, and his name is Beresford, and he was one of the workers who works with Omar. And to show you how evil John is, they had to dig, you know, I don't know, like a train wide or whatever like that and deep. And it takes them all day to do it, right? And so John was like, well, you're not going to get paid until you give me 3. And Beresford was like, 3? I can't, you know, it's going to take me all day to do 1. He was like, if you want to get paid, you're going to give me 3. So he digs and digs and digs. He has a pickaxe, and he's just digging and digging. And the author, she is explaining like his shoulder blades moving and his this, you know, just digging and digging and wiping the sweat. And then we flash back to what he's thinking about like his how he wants to get married and his girlfriend and stuff. And I can see his thoughts, right? And I can feel his determination to just get it done. And so he's like done almost. And John comes over and was like, far as I can see, you've only done 1. And Beresford's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is my 3rd one. Well, far as I can see, you've only done 1. And oh man, and it's horrible. And so he really cheats him out of his money. Right. And so instead of complaining, like everybody around him is sticking up for him, and he's like, don't even worry about it. And instead of complaining, he just thinks about his beautiful fiance and his thoughts and just getting through the day. And he digs and digs and digs and digs and digs, and he digs. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So that's just to show you how evil John is. So yeah. This book, man, I highly recommend it. So if you have any questions or comments or whatever, please hit me up below and, you know, shout me out. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate it. This has been a wonderful journey. I couldn't do it without the people who are involved in it. I love you all. Thank you so much. I am Sherry's Joy. I am one half of the DigiKast, and you can find me bookmarked right here on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share the link, share everything. If you think anybody you know can benefit from this, or just share it anyways, I really appreciate it. BookMarkedSJ on YouTube. I am BookmarkedSJ on Instagram. Blue Sky, I am at Sherry's Joy. And from the DigiKast, you can find us on YouTube at the DigiKast. We are on Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram as the DigiKast. And thank you so much. I truly appreciate all of you. Love the world. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Anytime she goes.